Hello and welcome back to the next lecture of the Sustainable Aviation MOOC. My name is Irene Dedusi. I'm an assistant professor in the Aircraft Noise and Climate Effects section here in the Faculty of Aerospace Engineering of TU Delft. In this lecture, we're going to discuss aviation's environmental impacts. Specifically, we're going to look at what those impacts are and why do we care about them. Well, let's first start with what those impacts are. If you've been close to an airport, or if you live close to an airport, you know that aircraft activity can be a very loud source of noise. Besides noise, the combustion of fuel in the engines of the aircraft contributes to emissions, and those emissions have atmospheric effects. One such effect is air pollution, meaning that the emissions from aviation contribute to the formation of pollutants in the atmosphere that are harmful to human health. Second atmospheric effect is that of climate change, meaning the emissions from aviation contribute to changing the energy balance of the atmosphere. Now, although these are the three main effects that we discuss when we talk about aviation's environmental footprint, there's two more I would like to mention just so you are aware about them. The first one is that of the ozone layer. The ozone layer is increased ozone concentrations at higher altitudes in the atmosphere, and this protects humans on the ground from harmful UV radiation. Now, the ozone layer is not affected too much by the operations of current aircraft. However, the potential reintroduction of supersonic aircraft that will be flying at higher altitudes than conventional aircraft, close or inside the ozone layer, might affect it. Secondly is that of nitrogen deposition, meaning that emissions, specifically nitrogen oxide emissions from the activity from aviation emissions, contributing to changing the nitrogen cycle in our ecosystems. Well, let's go back to the three main environmental effects we'll be discussing, and let's see how aviation contributes to those effects compared to other sectors. Out of all the people in Europe that are exposed to high levels of sound or noise, it is estimated that aviation contributes to around 3% of that. Of course, if you live very close to an airport, this is much more of a concern. But here, if we look at an aggregate number, this number is around 3%. When it comes to air pollution, meaning how much of air pollution in Europe is attributable to aviation activity, that number is around 2%. If you look at it globally, that number is less, is around 1% or less than that. Now, when it comes to climate change, aviation, the different effects of aviation emissions that contribute to climate change, if you aggregate those, aviation is responsible in total for around 5% of anthropogenic climate change. We'll look into each of those, into these environmental effects in more detail in later lectures. But for now, if we look at the ballpark is around 5% or less, depending on the exact environmental effect you're looking at. And a very good question at this point is, well, if it's 5% or less, why are we investing effort and resources to study this and do something about this? And that's a very good question. To answer this question, let's look into exactly what this 5% represents. And we can do this by looking at this fraction. This 5% is effectively the fraction of how much aviation, what are aviation's environmental effects, over what are the effects of all other sectors. So, let's look at the effects of aviation. Let's look at the numerator of this fraction. You've seen this plot before. This is a plot that shows the growth of aviation activity, specifically the revenue passenger kilometers, over time. And what we see is that aviation is growing despite different setbacks throughout history. Right now, we're also going through a setback with the COVID-19 pandemic, but it is projected that after the recovery, aviation will go back to its growth rate. This growth means that the emissions from aviation will keep increasing, and the corresponding environmental effects will also keep increasing. This means that the numerator of this fraction will increase, and of course the numerator increasing will lead to the entire fraction increasing. Now, let's look at the denominator, the effects of all sectors. Here, you're looking at the emissions, specifically the nitrogen oxide or NOx emissions, from all sectors in Europe over the past decades. And specifically meaning all sectors, I'm talking about sectors other than aviation, given that the other sectors are currently at least the biggest contributors. And you see that those emissions of the other sectors are going down over time. You see this for road transportation, you see this for industrial activities, you see this for energy production and use. What this means is that the emissions from all other sectors will decrease, meaning that the corresponding environmental effects will also decrease, leading into the denominator of that function going down. And of course, the denominator going down means that the value of the entire fraction further increases. So there's two reasons why we care about aviation's environmental effects. The first reason is that aviation itself is growing, therefore the impacts will grow in absolute terms, but also because emissions from other sectors are decreasing, the relative contribution of aviation emissions is also increasing.